Court is in session. This is a case involving a hit and run. I think the parties have already stipulated or agreed to certain things, that at some point in the evening there was an accident, there were cars outside, there were people around, and that's where things were going to get the testimony from the parties. And I'm going to call on the person suing the plaintiff, Mr. Buck, and then the defendant, Mr. Martin. So would you kindly say, Mr. Buck, are you currently employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you do?
I'm currently a manager of an audio-video chain store.
Okay. And on the night in question, you know we were talking about, I believe it was a summer night. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing that night, what happened, how you got on the scene.
Yes, Your Honor. That evening, I had just got done eating some dinner and was watching some television. And as it was getting dusk out, I went out for my evening walk. I got dressed in my proper attire for the walk and headed out the door. As I was going down the road, I came upon the scene of an accident. And as I arrived at the accident, I witnessed a woman near a Ford Focus.
Now, let me ask you for a moment. You didn't see the accident actually happen?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
So there had been an accident. Did you hear the noise ahead of time?
I heard the noise, yes, I did.
Go ahead.
And as I came upon the scene, the woman that was standing outside of the Ford Focus was visibly shaken, not hurt. I asked her if she was okay, and she explained that there was a Mercedes that hit her in the side of the car.
Excuse me, was there anyone on the scene at the time?
No,
police,
just
EMT?
just
so
the
literally
woman.
it had just happened?
Yes.
You heard
yes,
the
Your Honor.
noise? Okay, go ahead.
And there was no driver of the other vehicle. She indicated to me that the driver of the Mercedes had fled the scene, and I looked in the direction that she had pointed to and witnessed a figure fleeing down the hill.
And then tell me some more what happened then, how you came into contact, or what did you do? Did you ever catch the man?
No, I did not.
Or woman?
No, I don't know if it was a man or a woman. I just knew it was somebody fleeing down from the scene of the accident, down into the woods. I pursued to the best of my ability, and after probably, to my knowledge, about a minute or two of the pursuit, I became winded, slowed down a little bit, and then the altercation with Mr. Martin ensued.
Okay, tell me about this altercation. Did you get into a fight with Mr. Martin?
Not a fight per se. He tackled me as I was trying to explain to him that the hit and run driver was fleeing into the woods. And
Did you know Mr. Martin ahead of time?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Okay, so where was he in relation to you that he tackled you? Where did he come from?
All I know, I heard some yelling behind me, stop, hit and run, stop, and as I slowed down to catch my breath.
Was he talking to you or was he talking to the man ahead running in the woods?
I do not know.
Okay, so go ahead.
As I slowed down to catch my breath, Mr. Martin, of course, caught up to me and tackled me into we ended up going to the ground and scuffling. I ended up getting some cuts and some bruises and damaging my workout clothes.
And you brought this lawsuit today, and what is it you're looking for? You're looking for some money?
Yeah, I'm seeking some damages for first of all, for the workout clothes. They were pretty expensive. It was an Over Armour jacket worth around $200.
Okay, I see
a pair
that.
of running pants, I believe at $50 I have that down as, the
Okay.
sweatpants. Medical treatment for my cuts and bruises on my arms, and just overall pain and suffering.
All right, and were you able to go to work the next day?
No, sir, I was not.
You had to take the day off?
I took the day off, yes.
You were, what, in pain or what?
Not severe pain, but my job entails a lot of standing on my feet and walking, not a lot of sitting around as a manager of a retail audio-video store. So I decided I needed to take that day off. I did not go seek medical attention at that time, but over the weekend I did, and those were my medical bills.
Okay, so I have the general idea here. Now let's talk to Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin, how did you get on this? You were not involved in the hit and run yourself, were you?
No.
And how did you get on the scene?
I was going out to dinner with my girlfriend, and we were driving up the highway, and we came across, I saw Mr. Buck running down the street, well, jogging down the street, and I didn't know what he was doing. Like, we almost hit him. We had to move over, and then I got to the top of the hill, and I saw the accident, so I pulled over and got out like a good citizen would and ran to the Ford Focus, and there was already a lady standing outside of it, and I saw the Mercedes to my left all wrecked along the side of the highway. And when I approached the Ford Focus, a midget got out of the driver's seat.
Well,
A midget.
excuse me, that we don't use that terminology in the courtroom. I think the correct word would be little people.
Okay.
That's a prejudice
sorry,
statement, sir. That's prejudice.
All right, okay, we have order here. So you saw a little person.
Yeah, as we got to the accident, I ran over to the car to make sure everyone was okay. And like I said, the midget got out of the driver's seat and said, "I'm okay," but
Your Honor.
Little person.
I'm sorry. I'll call him little person. And the little person told me, "I'm okay," but he ran that way. And like, I put it all together in my head as I saw Mr. Buck running down the hill. And I took what the midget said.
The
And pointed.
little person.
I took what the little person said, and I put it all together, and I was like, "Oh, he's running from the scene. He must be drunk, or what? He's running from. He's doing a hit and run." So I said, "Oh, I'll get him," because he wasn't running that fast when I passed him. And I took off after him and yelling, "Stop! Stop! Hit and run's a crime!" Screaming, "Stop!" And as I approached, he was.
So you couldn't see. Could you see clearly that you recognized him today? That this is the person you saw running down the hill.
Yes.
All right. But that night, I just want to clarify. Why did you particularly chase him as opposed to the person who was in front of him?
Well, the midget pointed, and
Little person.
little person pointed, and as we were driving up the hill towards the scene of the accident, I saw him running down like he was trying to get away from the scene.
Well, the little person pointed not directly at Mr. Buck, but down the hill, correct?
Down the
That's
hill.
what he said.
Yes, down the hill.
All right. And you only saw one person down the hill.
I only saw one person.
Okay, so you were able to catch up. Apparently, you caught up to Mr. Buck.
Yeah, I caught him fairly easy, and he didn't say anything to me. Like, all he had to say was, "I'm not the guy. The guy ran that way." Or
Let me ask him, were you stopped at the time you were tackled?
At the time I was tackled, I was stopped. I had my hands on my knees trying to catch my breath because my asthma had overtaken me at that point in time.
all you had to
So I
do was
couldn't even
say that I'm not the guy.
Well, I think in some of the paperwork I saw, you said that when you saw Mr. Martin, that you were actually pointing into the woods, but you couldn't talk.
As he came upon me, I could see he was visibly upset.
But you could see that Mr. Martin was upset.
Correct.
Okay.
And he was attempting to pursue. I was pointing to where this individual had run to.
You were trying to help him.
I was trying to help, yes. I was trying to point to him where this individual had run to. Meanwhile, I got blindsided by Mr. Martin.
Did you see him point?
I didn't see him point. And
What did you see?
Just him bent over with his hands on his knees. And he was breathing heavily, but I still thought he was going to try to run.
Did you feel the need to tackle him?
Well, yeah, I didn't know if he had a weapon or anything on him, and he's bigger than I am, but once I tackled him, he was kind of wimpy, and I was able to hold him there until the police came.
Did you do you have any law enforcement background?
No, I do not.
All right. So you just made the decision on your own then to chase him.
Yeah, yes.
And why did you do that?
Well, hit and run's a crime. I was just doing the midget a favor by...
The little person?
Again, Judge, the prejudice. I think he ended up being too much of a
I just keep
cowboy,
making
wanting to make a
mistake,
difference, running after.
Well, you're saying he's prejudiced against little people. But you're not a little person.
No, sir, I'm not.
No, he's bigger than I am.
All right, well, let's go here.
I just thought I was going to be doing everyone a favor by getting the guy because he wasn't running that fast on the hill, even though I mistaked Mr. Buck for the driver.
Didn't you feel that you had to make positive identification before you would tackle someone?
Well, he was running away from the scene of an accident. I didn't see anyone else, so I just put it all together as he was the driver. And like I said, I didn't know if he had a weapon or anything, so I figured I better just tackle him and get him to the ground.
And from what I saw, from what you both submitted to me, you held him until the police came.
Yes, I did.
And then you were told to let him go.
Yes.
All right. Did you have any damage to yourself at all?
No, like I said, when I tackled him, it was pretty easy. He didn't put up much of a fight.
And you didn't punch him or hit him or anything?
No,
you
I did
just
not.
held him. That correct?
That's correct.
He held you. When you were at the top of the hill, when it first started, I just want to clarify, you did not see the accident happen either.
No, I did not. It was already
And you
done.
saw a car, you saw a lady standing there, and you made sure she was okay.
Yeah, the lady was standing there okay, just kind of in shock, and I saw the Mercedes off to the side of the road and all damaged, and the door open. And like I said, when I approached the Ford Focus, the midget jumped out and said,
The little person?
the little person jumped out and said, "I'm okay," but he ran that way. And I saw, when I was going up the hill, I saw Mr. Buck running down the hill, and then I could see him still running, and I figured I'll be able to catch him, so I'll do everyone a favor.
In the paperwork you submitted to me, you said that your words were that Mr. Buck was acting like a real jerk. What was he doing that he was acting like a real jerk?
He just wasn't able to, all he had to say was, "I'm not the guy, stop." Like, he wasn't able to say anything. He was just fussing with me and trying to fight back, but like I said, he was kind of wimpy, so I was able to hold him there.
Well, could you tell that he had a breathing problem or not, or did you think that was from running?
I just thought it was from running. I mean, he was kind of wheezy, but I just thought it was from him running down the hill.
So you weren't talking to him at that point?
No, I was pretty shaken up and irritated at that point in time. I was trying to do a good citizen deed by chasing after a hit-and-run driver and ended up getting tackled by the prejudiced cowboy.
Well, when the
That's prejudice cowboy?
well, when the police found out, did they go in the woods, or did they let you go? They let you
Well,
go?
because of Mr. Buck, he got away. And all he had to do was tell me or point.
That you might have been able to get him, but
I might have been able to get him.
you weren't charged with any crime,
No, sir.
and you weren't charged with any crime.
No, sir.
So then the only thing I'm going to have to decide is if you would get damages and how much. All right, I'm going to take a brief recess. Is there anything else, Mr. Buck, that you want to add?
Not that I know.
Mr. Martin?
I don't think his jacket's worth $200. I mean, look how he's dressed now. He doesn't wear $200 jackets, but.
All right, I
It's
will
up to you to
consider
decide.
everything. We'll stand in recess, 5 minutes. All right, we're back in session. Mr. Buck, Mr. Martin, I have considered the testimony, the documents you submitted, and there's no question that you had some damages. No question at all. I find that you both were trying to do a good deed. No doubt about that. Someone was injured and or there was an accident, you wanted to get the hit-and-run driver. On the one hand, I understand that you could not talk because of
Correct.
your asthma. On the other hand, I understand that you wanted to stop him because you had no choice but to tackle him. This is a very difficult case. I think what I'm going to do is, this is what I am going to do, I'm going to find in favor of the defendant, and you're not going to have to pay anything. I understand from the police reports that they did find the driver of the car, and I'm going to make certain that he pays restitution to you. So therefore, this lawsuit will be in favor of the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you both. Court is in session. This is the case of the hot coffee. I have Patrick, you are suing Owen, and let me just get a little basic information. Your name is Patrick.
Yes,
what
Your Honor.
happened on the day in question?
Well, that morning I had some errands to run and I was off from work. So I was dressed casually. I had a pair of sweatpants on and a t-shirt. And it was early morning though, and I just couldn't see accomplishing much without my cup of coffee. So I decided to give a new drive-through in town a chance. So I went over and...
You said it was new, so like you're not a regular patron there yet? Or
That's
you
correct.
haven't
I'd been living there quite some time and know that this restaurant had just opened up within the last month or so.
Okay.
Okay.
So what happened?
So I go through the
Best
drive-through.
coffee in town.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well, it's the hottest coffee in town, I know that much. So I go through the drive-through and the manager was there. I saw his name tag, I assumed he was the manager. and he seemed to be rushing me a little bit. There was a line of cars behind me, so I gathered that was the
Just
reason.
so I'm clear now, at this point, you're actually in your car in the drive-thru.
I am, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
And I ordered a coffee, and I went to pay for it and pick it up. And I felt the manager was agitated a little bit, perhaps because there was a line of cars behind me, and he was rushing me. So I gave the money, and he quickly gave me the cup of coffee and asked me to move along. Well, my cup holder was broken, so I placed the cup between my knees, and I thought, well, I better drive over to a nearby parking space so I could kind of safely add my cream and sugar to the coffee before I went to where I had to
Did
go.
he tell you to put the coffee down and hurry up, or did you just decide?
He wasn't that specific. He just he was indicating I should hurry it up.
Did
a
you
little
feel
bit.
a little bit rattled by his behavior? Did you feel rushed?
I felt rushed. I think that's fair to say, yes.
All right, now the coffee cup itself, did it have any kind of holder around it? You know how they have a little holder?
I believe it did. I'm not really clear on that point. It did have a lid, though, and that's what I was working on when I fumbled with it and spilled the coffee.
Were you holding the coffee, or was it in your leg when you spilled it?
It was still in my legs. I felt that was the only way I could brace it, and the lid was pretty snug, so when I popped, I tried to pull the lid this way, and the lid popped, and the coffee just spilled on my legs.
What happened next?
Yeah, I felt excruciating pain. I mean, it was as if the sun just came down on my lap. The coffee itself it was so hot that within a second or two, it melted right through my sweatpants and into my skin, and I started screaming. And I'm not very clear as to what happened next, other than I must have screamed so loudly that a concerned person nearby dialed 911 and an ambulance came.
So you were actually feeling, so you could not drive yourself. You needed an ambulance at that point.
I could scarcely think for myself, let alone drive, yeah.
All right, and then I saw in the paperwork that you spent a night or two in the hospital.
3 nights. I was in the hospital for 3 days. I required plastic surgery on the skin and sustained some significant medical expenses as a result, yes.
All right, when you got out of the hospital, were you working?
I was working at the time, yes. I needed several days off, though.
And then you returned to work?
I did.
All right, and is there anything else you could tell me about the coffee itself? I think that we had all agreed at the beginning that the coffee was served at, I believe it was 180 degrees. Well, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Owen, you heard what he said. Tell me a little bit about the drive-through place.
Well,
Was
first,
it brand new? Was it old?
well, first of all, it's a brand new facility, and I'm proud to say that I'm managing that facility. And he's very right that there was a line of cars that day. That's because word has it that we serve the best coffee in town. And, I don't think that I rushed him that day. Mr. Butterfingers here, or I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Butterfingers, you're right.
But
Excuse me, his name is Patrick, for the record.
Oh, I apologize, Your Honor, but I served him his coffee, and that he's right, that was me, and my employee wasn't there that day, so I was assigned that duty, and just to help out help the other employees.
Well, if the coffee was hot enough to burn him, what's the purpose in serving coffee that hot? Like, you're the manager of the place. Why did you serve it so hot?
Well, because that's how people like it. My customers like their coffee served hot. And that's what you look for. You look for hot coffee. You don't go to a store and buy cold coffee. You buy hot coffee.
Well, Your Honor, I find it hard to imagine that a coffee that could have caused third-degree burns on my skin could be consumable. How could a person drink that coffee? I would have burned my mouth. I imagine I would have had third-degree burns to my mouth had I attempted to drink that coffee right away.
Did you have any of that coffee this morning?
Oh, absolutely, Your Honor. And I'll tell you what, best cup of coffee I ever had.
Did it burn you?
No, I didn't have a hard time with it at all. I enjoy the coffee hot.
Well, my skin doesn't lie. I sustained third-degree burns. That's not an issue.
Well, did you put the lid on?
Oh, the lid was secure. It comes with a holder. Everybody that comes through the window, and specifically that day, nobody had a problem with it. Actually, we were getting compliments.
Do you have, does your establishment have any warnings on the cup that this coffee is hot?
Not to my knowledge. I didn't know if, I mean, you're supposed to know that coffee's hot. Why do you need to warn somebody?
So when you serve the coffee, you don't say, this is hot coffee. They order coffee. You
Well,
don't
no,
say,
they
"This-"
order hot coffee. You don't have to tell them.
Well, you have iced coffee on your menu, I assume, right?
Right.
And some people would order iced coffee.
Right, and you don't have to tell them, watch, it's cold.
All right.
You know,
so
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
go
Your
ahead.
Honor.
No, I
Well,
want to
you
get
know,
all the facts here so
sure,
I can make a
I don't
decision.
deny expecting the coffee to be hot. I think it's a question of degree. I certainly didn't expect to receive coffee that would be so hot it would instantly melt my clothing if I were to spill it, and I did spill it. And I don't deny that I spilled it either. So to that degree, to that extent, I would agree with Owen. I am partially to blame. I spilled coffee on my lap. But should I pay such a high physical price or a high financial price because the coffee was so hot that it would cause third-degree burns? I don't think so.
As the manager of the restaurant, do you feel you should give a warning to people?
Well, I don't know, in a case like this, you know, people come and they order hot coffee. So I don't, is it necessary to warn somebody when they order hot coffee?
All right. I think that I have enough of the facts here, and what I'll do, I'm going to have to take a couple minutes and make a decision. And I appreciate you both are so straightforward. So this court is in recess. All right, I'm ready to render my decision in the case of the hot coffee. The drive-through restaurant served coffee that was 180 degrees. Although it was a factory setting, it's very, very hot, enough to cause a burn. Patrick, I understand your problem. You had some
Thank you, Your
severe
Honor.
injuries. The other problem I have legally is that first of all, coffee is supposed to be hot when you get it. And second of all, the problem occurred here not because the coffee itself was hot as much as it was that you put it between your legs. And then your own testimony, you said that you ripped it open. However, we do need to protect consumers. We do need to protect consumers. But in this case, and I just have to follow existing law, I find in favor of the defendant on the basis that the plaintiff really caused his own injury leading to the coffee burning. Now, had the manager splashed the coffee on you, Patrick, that would have been a whole different story. But in this case, all he did was hand it to you. So verdict in favor of the defendant, case dismissed. Thank you both. In the first case that we heard, in the case of the hit and run, we had a case where there were two innocent victims. We had Martin, who was trying to help by running down the hill to catch what he thought was a hit and run driver. We had the innocent victim who was actually chasing the real hit and run driver. So in that case, it was very, very difficult because they were both innocent victims. And it would not be fair, and it would discourage people from trying to help one another if I had ruled in favor of the person that was tackled. So I couldn't do that. In the hot coffee case, that's based on a famous court case in which a lady sued claiming that coffee was unreasonably dangerous and too hot. And she suffered very severe burns. She needed skin grafting. And the jury awarded her several $100,000 plus $2.7 million in punitive damages. The parties eventually settled for less than $600,000. There have been many cases involving burns from hot coffee, but a judge on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed lawsuits, and he said that hot coffee is not unreasonably dangerous. And to get the aroma of the coffee and the taste of the coffee, it has to be hot. And then when people buy coffee, Unless they order iced coffee, they expect it to be hot. So the conduct of the person who buys the coffee becomes important. As long as the server is not splashing it on the person that is purchasing it, what the purchaser does, the cups are now made of stronger and more rigid foam, and there are warnings on the cup. So it is up to the purchaser who purchases coffee to be careful and to not put it between your legs, and be careful how you use it. So the coffee itself is not unreasonably dangerous, and that is why I ruled in favor of the drive-through. Please tune in for another show in the very near future, and thank you for watching.